I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Recording in progress.
Well, good evening and welcome to our City Council meeting, Monday, February 2nd, 2026. With that, if we could get roll call, please.
Luther.
Here.
Crow.
Here.
Sutherland.
Here.
Yanko.
Here.
Pickard. Here. Schwebs.
Here.
Gentz.
Here.
Solberg. Here. Birdman.
Here.
Summerfeld.
Here.
Great, thank you. If anybody would like to make a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting, now is your opportunity to do so.
I'll move to approve minutes from the last meeting.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to that motion? Violet?
Second motion.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Moving on to a public hearing. A public hearing is a portion where anybody can speak on the public hearing item for the evening. With that, we would ask that we would come up to the microphone. Turned on. Give us your address. The first public hearing will be public hearing for proposed ordinance 2026-02, an ordinance repealing and replacing Title IX, Chapter 2, the residential properties. We'll start that particular public hearing and then we'll move on to the next one. Mr. Schofield, do you want to get us, point in the right direction on this?
Yeah, ordinance 2020 or proposed ordinance 2026-02 is in regards to residential rental properties. There's a number of things that the ordinance does. The first is it defines a neighborhood stabilization enhancement district in the southeast corner of the southeast of the UW's Stout campus. The second is it adds proactive rental inspections within that NSAID. The third is it gives landlords 30 days to address habitability violations found during complaint-based or proactive rental inspections. Fourth, it adds rent abatement if confirmed habitability violations are not addressed within those 30 days. And fifth is that it adds retaliation protections for tenants that participate in complaint-based or proactive rental inspections. I'll be happy to add more after we get into the discussions, but that's kind of the tee up of it.
Thank you, Mr. Schofield. At this time, then, we would open up the public hearing portion of our meeting. So come on forward and state your name and we'll get started.
Good evening and thanks for your time. My name is Tina Lee. I live at E4588 453rd Avenue in the town of Menomonie. Although I recently moved out of the city limits, I have strong ties to this community after living here for 15 years, raising my children here and being a faculty member at UW Stout. I'm also part of the team at GROW who presented a version of Ordinance 2026-02 to the city several months ago. If others are here in support of the ordinance, will you please stand or raise your hand so we can be noted? As has been shared in many previous meetings, GROW presented this ordinance after a long period of listening to and talking with our neighbors. We heard many stories of deteriorating conditions and unresponsive landlords. We worked together to find a solution that is allowed under Act 317, a state law developed by realtors that took away the power of municipalities to have regular proactive rental inspection programs. The details of Ordinance 2026-02 have been discussed at length through a collaborative process that landlords were invited to be part of. This ordinance was presented to city staff in June, approximately 7 months ago. We saw a movement and then finally a housing committee was formed. That body discussed it for 6 meetings from September to December. Then it came to this body and then to the planning commission. And one thing that's been striking to me is how quickly a zoning ordinance to keep out a data center was passed. This was hit with delay after delay after delay. This ordinance was passed unanimously by the Housing Committee. It was passed unanimously by the Planning Commission. More than 450 residents of Menomonie have signed a petition in favor of this ordinance. All residents of the NSAID outlined in the ordinance were contacted. At the Planning Commission last week, we heard that there had been really no objections. Just, I believe Mr. Schofield said 10 calls, mostly questions. We heard no major objections through months of public meetings. The residents of Ward 9, which is partly where the NSAID is, had ample representation during this entire process, including the fact that their alderperson was the chair of the Housing Committee. Good landlords have nothing to fear from this ordinance and will not be negatively impacted. In other communities who have tried this, declines in property values have not been seen. Instead, increasing housing quality helps everyone. And so I ask the council, will you stand with a small handful of landlords and property managers, or will you stand with the majority of residents in the city who are renters, the over 450 individuals who signed a petition in favor of this ordinance? We urge you to not add another delay and to please pass 2026-02, and we thank you so much for all the work you've already put into this ordinance.
Okay, thank you, Tina. Again, the public hearing portion is open if anybody else would like to speak.
My name is Tom Flug, or in Menomonie, it's Tom Flug. I live at 902 and a half 11th Street East. I lived in Menomonie through high school, and I moved away for colleges and work in Minneapolis. I moved back here about 9 years ago, and I rented a duplex in the 10th floor. As soon as I moved back here while I was apartment shopping, I noticed how run down the buildings were. My first impressions were lack of pride and care, and I wondered, what do visitors think? What do parents or students think? It just seemed like a lot of neglect. I was a property owner and landlord in Minnesota and took great pride in providing safe and wonderful spaces for others. I had to believe there were codes or standards that weren't being upheld here. I thought if there wasn't a group to lead the way in this, I would have to start one. Grow contacted me this summer, and I was thrilled to join them. The duplex I live in has multiple safety hazards. Okay, I call it the death trap. Falling on uneven stairs both into the house and between the floors, lack of handrails and lighting of the staircases, a bathroom floor that's falling in. 5 months into the lease, this was only going to be temporary until I found what I really wanted. I broke my ankle falling through the steps to the second floor. The bottom step was split, covered by loose carpet. I didn't know that. I fell over, basically pulled my foot off my leg into a closet, smashed my arm with a door casing. So I spent 4 months in the hospital and a year in a wheelchair. And I have neuropathy in my right hand because of that. And a piano player, which makes life difficult. All of this could have been avoided with inspections. I spent 4 months in the hospital and a year in a wheelchair. And I haven't really walked without a wheelchair, a walker, or a cane. And my quality of life has been a negative number. I've had a non-healing broken ankle for 5.5 years with no compensation. The kicker is that when I went through all of these issues on a walkthrough with the landlord before I moved in, we made a list of these things, and I printed the list for each of us to have it on record. He said he might see some of the things or none of the things. I know we have landlords here tonight, and this is about my landlord, it's not about you. And the landlords raised the rent this year to allow for more maintenance of our building. Nothing new has been done to justify that. My physical therapist had to put in new railings and install safety bars in the tub of the shower. I've fallen down those stairs so many times because there's no light and there were no railings or a stub wall. It's just a hole, and it turns and I would fall down. They promised me a laundry to entice me to rent the place. I haven't had a laundry in 6 years. They did repair this broken step and ripped the carpet off of that, and bedroom have not replaced it. It's bare wood. It's dangerous. And next door, in the other half, they have falling in floors and mice. And just in the last week or so, our water bill was due on January 20th, and they always drop it off after the due date. It's February now, and I still haven't seen a bill. They called the city and told them, get me auto pay so we don't have this happen anymore. And then in the last week and a half, when it was so cold, my car wouldn't start. I had no water in the bathroom, not in the sink or the shower. So I called the city and they said they couldn't help unless it was all the water gone from the house. So I notified the landlord and told him this had to be fixed. So I've been shaving and showering in the kitchen sink. I feel like the landlords are setting a bad example. Why to the tenants there? It just keeps spiraling down. The landlord's son came by a couple weeks ago with no notice, and I reminded him of the needed repairs that we agreed on. This is a father and son working this. The father's retiring. The son came by and with no notice, and I reminded him of these needed repairs. The son said, I don't care. I'm not going to do anything. If you don't like it, you can move. That's when I got mad. I've done a lot for that place. I've lifted it up way beyond. Every room was filled with garbage. The day after this ordinance was presented to City Council, or City Housing Committee, I had the fourth and hopefully the final surgery to repair my broken ankle. I'm still living with a cane, but I hope that it will heal. I just think we all need to live and work together with dignity, respect each other. And with some fair regulations, we can't move forward. I know tenants feel they're at the mercy of the landlord and feel intimidated to bring up the issues of upkeep, maintenance, and dangerous situations that need to be addressed without fear of reprisals. That's why I urge you to pass Ordinance 2026-02. Thank you all for your time and consideration.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
Yep.
Okay, public hearing is still open. If anybody else would like to speak.
Hey everyone, I'm Sox Morgan. That's my husband, Daniel Elliott. We own a home. Thank you, Mr. Sutherland. We would like our tax dollars to go towards this ordinance. We don't like seeing the city falling apart. That's bad for everybody. So let's do better and let's not put the onus to do something on the people with the least among us. Students, single parents, people who are just starting out. That's ridiculous and wrong, and you all know it. So let's do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Stocks. Anybody else like to speak in the public hearing portion?
Hello, everyone. I think that
What's your name, ma'am?
sorry, I'm Emily Daniels. I live at 1325 Stout Street. I'm a homeowner as of 2024. Before that, I rented in Menomonie with my husband. It was very much a case of getting the safest place you possibly could for what you could afford, which sometimes meant not as safe as you'd like to be. However, that's not the main point that I'd like to bring up. I think we're all aware that the thing that started this conversation was the fire last year in spring on Main Street. I was present for that. I was locking up buildings. I work at UW Stout as a custodian. I was locking up buildings, and I thought that a fog had come in off the lake when I was walking back up towards Harvey. And as I got closer to the building, I realized that the fog was smoke, and it was coming out through the bricks. And as I realized that there must be a fire and started wondering what I would needed to do, I noticed that there was another woman standing in the street in her pajamas, holding her cat and calling 911. By the time the fire trucks came there, they trapped our vehicle in, and we weren't going to interrupt their hard work trying to put out that fire. So my husband and I were trapped in town until the fire was almost out and we could talk to the fire chief and ask for permission to drive a truck out. I watched a lot of people lose everything that night. I watched a young couple mourn the loss of their 2 cats. I watched a lot of people wonder how they were going to replace important electronics, important documents, important papers. And every single person I talked to that night said, we were aware that the safety here was bad, but it was all we could afford. It was all we could afford. That's why we lived here. I guess we just made a bad bet. And I don't think that anyone's life or safety or all of their belongings should depend on a bet. And apparently before 2017, the state of Wisconsin also knew that. But in the last several years, we've decided to entertain this foolish idea that there is no need for safety protections for renters. And I am very excited by seeing a lot of people decide that that idea is foolish. I'm very happy that we did not need to lose human lives in order for that idea to come forward. I would hope that we could pass this before it comes to the point of someone losing their life, of someone getting hurt more than they already have, more than we already heard. So I really hope that we pass this ordinance, and I really hope that we are able to keep everyone in the town of Menomonie safe. Thank you.
Okay, good job. Thank you, Emily.
Cynthia Welch. We live in the town of Menomonie, but we've had rental properties for over 25 years here in town. We used to rent primarily to students, and I tell people I prefer students. They take care of the place. When my husband would go and do this safety inspections, he would find batteries taken out of the fire alarms, batteries taken out of the carbon monoxide alarms. We always checked and had to redo the fire extinguishers. I don't know if that's involved, but I felt good about our houses. They were safe, well repaired. We were proud of them. I was appalled when the state legislators voted to not require safety checks. I've heard from a lot of acquaintances in the community the trouble they're having, like no hot water, no heat. A few years ago, I did election literature distribution, and I took primarily the university students' housing. I went that route. I was appalled. Dark hallways, dirty hallways, trash. I've heard from other people that are renting. They have to find another place because they've been out of hot water for over 2 weeks. The heat. We're not taking care of our rental properties as we should. And we owe it to citizens to have a safe place for everybody to live. Safe and clean, and with the inspections too. If we notice that it's unsanitary, we could talk to the tenants and say, clean this up. We took pride in the houses we own. And a lot of what I see now is sad. I had a homeless student I ran into, and they were out because they couldn't take where they were living because of the poor maintenance. We need to pass this, and we need to have regular checks. We all need to learn to take care of each other.
Go ahead.
Okay, did I tell you I'm from the town of Menomonie?
Yep.
If you needed that. Okay.
Thank you, Cynthia.
If you don't know me, Rand.
She was my big sister once.
Hi, I'm Jackie Ladd. I live at 701 North Broadway Street, trailer number 8, across from the library. And if anybody has followed a lot of the Facebook posts, there where our manager or landlords, however they deal with that, haven't been salting or sanding our hill until just recently. And I believe the one person that started it is actually here today, Andrew. I can't thank him enough for doing that because I've been fighting heart issues and for ambulances or fire trucks not to be able to get up that hill. I've seen an elderly lady do 360s going down that hill. I have seen it where they have ran into the sidewall because that hill has gotten so slippery. All they do is sand it. Even in the summertime, all they do for the potholes is put sand in it and it goes into the drain. Now that drain is plugged. We've had freezing pipes where they do not answer their phone calls or their messages, but then will turn around and tell you straight to your face that you have not called them. Our water pipes burst from our shower and we had to throw out 5 garbage bags worth of clothing that had rotten and that had rotten in our closet. And this year we have had the same almost thing happen again. And we are stuck repairing stuff that we should not be repairing because we don't have licenses. But if we don't, then we have no hot water and all of our belongings are wrecked. Our houses are burnt down and I have to be scared for my 6-year-old autistic child to be able to go outside to play or even do certain things, like our tub is completely falling apart. I've never been to one of these. I appreciate your time. I really am for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
My name's Jay Williamson. I live at 1423 15th Street Southeast, number 15. I'm the owner of Southside Property Management. This will be my 25th year in property management in Menomonie. I understand what some of these people are going through, and I'm not up here to defend bad landlords whatsoever. Just because you want to own a rental and I own a rental now, there's a lot of responsibility with that. It costs a lot of money. We spend a lot of time on maintenance. Takes me 4 months to hire a guy that even can walk and chew gum sometimes. We're in a difficult position. Still no excuse. We still get it done. We turn most of our work orders in a day, day and a half. If we got to order parts or get vendors, that's a different story. I'm up here speaking because I think it puts me in an unfair advantage, lumping me in with a bunch of people that do not do the job that they should be doing. Sydney, who started this, was a tenant of ours. I wasn't aware of a lot of the meetings that went on this summer. Quite frankly, I don't have time to keep up on a lot of that stuff. Get up at 4 or 5 and I get home at 5 or 6. I looked up all the acts, the previous ones, the 317, and how it made an option for the cities to create a district. I feel I live in that district. I have properties in that district. I could drive down and point out a lot of individual houses that look like junkyards that they're doing garage work in the driveway. They have silt fences for fences. There's so many little violations going on around town. Sometimes I think landlords get a bad rap, mostly because there are bad landlords. I look at Milwaukee, Kenosha. I think there's 4 or 5 cities that have an abatement program. Those abatement programs go on the violations rather than creating a district. They don't discriminate against any district in town. They just have an abatement program set up. So if you're a landlord and you have a violation and it's this severe, then you're going to get thrown into this group. When the city quit doing yearly inspections, I still do them. I've done them every year since then. Every year we find a house, the tenants left over break, shut the heat off. This house, the winter was at 38 degrees when we got there. We openly send emails to tenants, hey, if you're going to be gone, let us know. We'll stop and check it. It's not going to cost you anything. Just let us know you're gone. I'm constantly looking at furnace pipes, see if I got exhaust coming out. We do everything we can to prevent any major catastrophic things happening, which has happened in the past. get a call at 1 o'clock in the morning when I'm in Florida. The tenant came home, turned the heat on, and now we got a flood in the basement. I just had to tell them where the water meter is because nobody would have known within 3 minutes, or my guys couldn't get over there within 15 or 20. Most of our service calls, they get a call back from me or my maintenance guy within 15 minutes. We'll let them know what's going on. We have a problem with tenants calling us with stuff. Just in the last 2 weeks, we got a toilet that didn't work for 3 days. Well, they still used it for 3 days. It wasn't pretty when we got there. We've had tenants with no hot water, wasn't working right for 3 or 4 days. They call us 5 o'clock at night. We're there till 8 o'clock fixing it. So there's good stuff happening out there. I'm not sticking up for anybody that can't handle their own stuff. I'd like to see it revisited on a violation standard versus just blanketing an area. I don't know why you picked this little area down here for the guinea pigs for it. Like I said, Cindy was a tenant of mine, and we helped her re-rent her apartment. She sent Brooke a nice email when she left. So I can see some revisions in this, not to let anybody off the hook by any means, but the comment was made, it didn't affect anybody. I don't know. I've been here. I'm 6 years old, been in business in town 25 years. I still don't know what happened on Frickland Drive before my time, but we can still tell somebody we got a nice place on Frickland. Oh, I don't want to live down there. I don't know. I've had properties all my life down on Frickland. I've owned them, I leased them. Just about everything down there I managed at one time or another. I don't know what happened, but this could be like a Frickland on steroids with social media. People coming to town, don't rent this area. It's just bad. I think I'm thrown into a group of people that if they don't care and they come and say we're not going to fix it, move out, that sucks. That's not the way it should be operated. If they're a bad landlord and you're having troubles with them, put them in this program. Get inspections biannually. If they're doing good, then it's 5 years. If you got to fine them or whatever it is, I don't care what you fine people. I know there's state statutes. $500 a violation would be fine with me. It's going to make it hurt. Most things we fix are under $100. We had a tenant call us and she said, well, there's a little leak under the sink. It didn't bother us. We just put some paper down. But it's starting to smell. 2 months have gone by. We get out there and the cabinet's completely rotted out. So we got to tear the cabinet bottom out. We got to treat everything. We got to put a new cabinet bottom in. It would have been 30 seconds to tighten a drain nut and we could have avoided everything. So we try to educate tenants, let them know. I don't think we've ever charged a tenant for doing anything. I tell them if I'm unplugging your kitchen sink every other day, we're probably going to have a chit chat about it because something's not working right. But I think we should look at maybe some other way to police this other than just blanketing everybody as a bad landlord, a bad area, a blighted area, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, in closing, really don't have anything else to say. I'd like to think I've been in good standing with the city for the 25 years I've been here. So thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Hi, Andrew Hagan, 2868 Whisper Court, Unit 8. So first, thank you for your work regarding Ordinance 2026-02, the ordinance part of the SHIELD proposal. As you remember, there are two parts to that proposal, the ordinance half and the policy half. The reason why this method was chosen is that they work in tandem to provide an all-encompassing solution to the rental quality issues that we have witnessed in Menomonie. I heard from someone whose landlord replaced their water pipes with corrugated piping, so now they have to filter the rest out of their drinking water. I've seen wasp nests in siding, holes in floors all the way to the ground, and windows that can't close. An ordinance is what gives the city the legal framework to pursue certain solutions. As such, they are by nature set in stone. Policies, however, are more freeform and give the city the flexibility to be creative, such as creating a landlord recognition program or making an educational campaign. These ideas were highly approved by the Housing Committee and were part of the original SHIELD program. I urge the council to move forward with the ordinance 2026-02, which will allow the city inspectors to help the people who I spoke of and work with their landlords. I also urge the council to take the next steps after the passage of this ordinance to develop those creative procedures to uplift those who are doing good in the city. There are a lot of them, and I really want to see them helped. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Hello, I'm Caitlin Dorr, and I live at 1712 Fifth Street West, apartment 104 in the city of Menomonie. I've been renting since 2011 and have spent 13 years of the last 15 years renting in the city. I am here speaking to agenda item number 3A on ordinance 2026-02 and urge you to vote in favor of passing Menomonie Shield. This past fall, I went before the Housing Committee to describe a time when my first landlord mocked me and my roommates for the reasonable request to add a deadbolt to an exterior door, completely disregarding our fears for our safety. I also shared that if Menomonie doesn't act to address the multitude of housing problems in the city, including quality, affordability, and availability, residents like me would have no choice but to leave. This ordinance isn't just about me, though. It's about basic health and safety for everyone in the city. Our neighbors shouldn't be getting sick from black mold or freezing in the winter because of a hole in the wall, or live in fear of someone breaking into their home in the middle of the night. If I had my way, the city would inspect every rental in the city every year, just like they used to do before 2017. I may now have the means to move if I needed to, but this is not the reality for most of residents in Menomonie. The fact remains that this is not an issue you can simply consume or boycott our way out of. Housing or shelter, at times a finite resource, and not simply choosing one shoe brand over another. Too many negligent landlords are letting their properties crumble, putting profit over people. If the way things have currently been done were working, then why would so many residents have complaints of issues going unaddressed in our city? Why do we see 26% of the complaints in Denton County submitted to the Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade and Consumer Protection from April 2015 to August 2024 cite landlord retaliation or fears of retaliation? Clearly, education and awareness of our rights as tenants is not enough when so many residents live in fear of speaking up. If a landlord is doing their due diligence to mitigate issues and do right by their tenants, they will not be impacted by this ordinance. Clearly, what the city has been doing isn't enough, and it's time we try something different. Pass ordinance 2026-02 now, because everyone deserves a safe and healthy home. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Caitlin. Okay, oh yeah. Public hearing is still open.
Hi there, my name's Rebecca Kilby. I live at 510 11th Street East. I'm a micro landlord. I rent my downstairs apartment. And so first of all, I'd like to just say thank you to all of you for opening this discussion and grappling with an issue that I think is very important to Menomonie, and that is safe and affordable housing. I feel like it's a pretty low bar to expect that landlords provide a safe, clean place to live. And I think that this ordinance goes quite a ways towards accomplishing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Okay.
Hi, my name is Luigi Christensen, 1102 14th Avenue East, Menomonie. I actually live in Ward 9, and I know I hear what you're saying, because in the past, when I did canvassing last few years, when I was running for county board, and I'm going to some of these apartments, and yeah, they are quite in disarray. I also thinking about as far as when looking at the retaliation protection part, and we already have a voluntary for both the owners and the complaint-based tenants. And just wondering, as far as the staffing goes, is it going to impact the budget as far as we are with the building inspection department? Also, is it still trial run as well? That's another thing I question. Is it a trial run with Ward 9? And if all goes well, proactive inspection, will it go across the board throughout city limits? That's another thing, because it's more than just Ward 9. I think it goes much broader better than that. But anyway, I think that we need to have maybe look at it, with voluntary. And when I was reading ordinance, it looked like voluntary ordinance is still into play, and you're adding in the proactive for the Ward 9 for the district. But them are some of the questions I have. I guess is are we going to have more staffing in the city for this? And also, is it going to be a trial run to see how this all plays out in Ward 9 and go across the board in the city limits? So thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura Jean.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. I live at 1114 11th Avenue in town, and one of the things I've worked for both types of landlords is
Before you go farther, could you just give us your name so that the,
I'm sorry.
the clerk can get the right spelling? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Burton Barnard at 1114 11th Avenue. I've worked for both kinds of landlords in the past. When I first came to town, the codes in this town were pretty bad. I came from an area of Michigan that codes are much stricter, and it took a long time to get the uniform electrical code going here and so forth. And I'm going to play the devil's advocate and say if you want to pass an ordinance, you need to support the building department, which the inspection department, which I feel much better about than I ever did years ago. As a tradesman years ago, the attitude in the department is much better. It's much more responsive than it was years ago. And I think you need to support that, however that works out in terms of personnel and money. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Burton. Okay, last public hearing on this particular aspect, and then we'll move on. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Lori Howe, N4845 Street. Can I ask any questions or just comments?
It's more of a comment
Okay.
scenario. You can ask the questions, we just won't engage.
Sure. Okay. I'll ask the questions. Maybe you can answer them later. So my questions and comments are specific to the proposed boundaries. So one of the questions that possibly could be answered later is there required minimum acreage or maximum acreage? And then second, are there any grants involved? And are you on some kind of timeline that you need to rush to? So those are the two questions. So regarding the boundaries, the south boundary, it appears to me that it's like a snake that goes like along Galloway Creek. So if I look at all the parcels or lots in there, it appears that almost every one is cut in two. So part of it would be in the district, and part of it would be out of the district, the proposed district. So that seems rather problematic to me. I'm not quite sure why it follows Galloway Creek. And then the second is, if you look over here, there are three very large parcels. They would be right here. That would be these three parcels. And so one is 24.55 acres, one is 30.74 acres, the last is 22.45 acres. So that's 77.74 acres. To my knowledge, all that land does not even have a building on it, let alone a rental. So I'm quite unsure why that is even in the district. It would seem to me that if you have a minimum required acreage, I'm not sure that that should be out. I mean, even down here, there's like a horse pasture in there. I'm not quite sure how this boundary was made, but I think a little more time, thoroughness to think it out, because to me it would be more useful to go above here where you have highly densely populated rentals, or to the west, if that's what your purpose is rentals. I don't know why you have 77 acres, probably even more like at least 40 to 50% of that boundary doesn't even have buildings on it. That makes no sense to me. I think it could go back to the drawing board and be made better. And I know this is the first time you've created this district, but I think if you're going to do it, you should do it right. And I just think that whole bottom snaky thing is so problematic to have part of a parcel in a boundary, part of it out. And why you have 77 acres that doesn't even have a building on. I'm not sure how that came across, but I think it could be worked on to be made better, to include more rental properties if you can. So that's all I have. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Lori.
Hello. I'm in Robertson and I rent at 911 Main Street East. And I support the adoption of the proposed ordinance 26-02. And as a member of grassroots organizing in Western Wisconsin, I've been involved in the research and preparation for the creation of this ordinance for the past year and a half. And I've had contact with, as an organization, we've had contact with hundreds of residents in the city of Menomonie. And the majority of them have placed the quality of rental housing as one of their top concerns, along with cost and size. Like a lot of people have issues trying to find the right size of housing. And so in our research done with students at UW Stout, we found that the majority of students who live in off-campus rentals recognize that they have issues with their rentals, but that same majority doesn't feel like they have the ability to do anything about those issues, and they don't recognize it as a problem that might reach beyond just their apartment. And so while educating first-time tenants on what their rights are and how to report issues is definitely beneficial, I don't think it should be the responsibility of people who might only live in an apartment for a few months to track down their landlord or building inspector to fix all of these issues when their apartment should just be livable. And that's what they're paying rent for, is to not be their own property manager. And so giving the city the power to do regular inspections and increase their direct contact with residents will improve the city's relationship with tenants, reward good landlords for keeping their properties clean and safe, make it less profitable to be a bad landlord, and then making sure that owners having maintenance issues can be connected to services to improve their properties, or in rare cases be appropriately regulated and fined by the city for violations. And then declaring this area of the neighborhood stabilization district to make it bad or blighted or whatever. And I think there'll be an opportunity to increase the amount of care we all have in our properties across the board, not just in the district. And I think it's a good start, even if the boundaries are a little weird. We can always fix that. And also in the process of this, in our research, we contacted a large number of large landlords in Menomonie multiple times, and none of them got back to us, except for Tim Nelson after we met him at a meeting a month or two ago. And they were just didn't want to talk to us, and it's weird that they're suddenly opposed to this, despite these months that they've had to have any input on this. And it would have been great to have any communication from them before now.
Okay, well, thank you, Igmar. Anybody else want to speak in this portion of the public hearing?
Hi, thank you. My name is Ryan Martin. I'm at N 6835 150th Street in the town of Red Cedar, but I do business here in Menomonie. My wife and I and some business partners own Pathways Properties and Pathways Real Estate here in Menomonie. First, I want to say we are unequivocally aligned with the safety, health, well-being of all rental properties in the city of Menomonie. So I'm not here to oppose anything that moves in that direction. I am here, though, to just ask for further consideration. I heard Jay speak, and I think he spoke quite well with, I think there's additional considerations that haven't been considered with the way this ordinance is written as is. I would apologize for my lack of not being able to respond until now. I know there were some attempts to reach out, and at the end of the day, we're all busy, and there's really no additional excuse for that. But at this time, I just would ask that before we add updates and additional governments in this arena, I believe it should just be proven that the existing systems is failing and has failed to meet its objectives. this time, I have not been privy to or seen information that demonstrates that Title IX, Chapter 2 as it exists is failing today. That ordinance has voluntary compliance inspections available to tenants. I have not seen any data to substantiate how many many tenants are utilizing that service. I would like to see some data, and maybe again, this is just my ignorance to the data. Does our current inspectors have a massive backlog of tenant complaint inspections? How many of those were corrected within, if there are complaints, how many of those were already corrected within the 30 days? How many remain non-compliant? How many complaints impede habitability, which is what this primarily addresses? And those are just a few questions I have that weren't like outlined in FAQ that was provided. Just another key consideration, again, not in opposition, but for consideration, is just the key component of these NSAIDs. So something that I haven't heard discussed here today is what this does for current homeowners, future investors, landowners, developers that seek to do business within the Menomonie area. I've been a part of the Menomonie Area Chamber of Commerce for several years. I've sat on short-term action committees for Dunn County, and I've unequivocally heard the need and demands for quality housing throughout Dunn County and the city of Menomonie. And what I'm asking is, have we really taken a hard look at this and how this will deter future investors, landowners that seek to do business in Menomonie to provide just that? I haven't seen any information that would not deter investors from purchasing rental properties within these NSAID regions, especially when they could just maybe go across town and purchase a property of similar or like for like amenities and price points. So I think what I would like to see is consideration of if we're going to do this. I think it's a citywide concern. I like Jay's idea of having it be violation based. There's a lot of good landlords out here. I have very few negative things to say about our competitors in this community. I think several of them really are trying to provide safe quality, and we are getting a really black eye by a few in this community. I would also like City Council to consider educational campaign. Do we truly have a substantiated housing quality problem, or could it be considered that these concerns may be related to the lack of knowledge and understanding about the current systems by local tenants and landlords? Are we confident that tenants, landlords, and owners are well versed to their rights and obligations as it pertains to the ordinance today? Again, I just heard a gentleman right before me say that most Scout students are unaware of their rights. I can only speak to our portfolio and how we choose to do business. Like, we're so confident in our abilities and the way we treat our tenants. You can go right to our website, and there's a nice big bullet point that says tenant and landlord guidelines. That gives you a link directly to the state of Wisconsin tenant guide and responsibilities, which is also a link right to the file a complaint button. That's how confident we are in how we respond to our tenants, and I think several other landlords and property management companies share our same values. So again, I'm not standing here in opposition, because what I've heard from several of the tenants in this city is heartbreaking. The fact that anybody is living in those conditions is just not acceptable, and I'll be the first to say that. One, I would encourage, again, the city to consider just tabling this to massage out some of the questions and details, as well as I would encourage the tenants of the city of Menomonie, and I'll steal this, it was actually given to me by a counterpart in town. I would encourage our tenants to speak with their feet. There's a lot of good landlords and property management companies in this city. We'd love to have you. Come fill out an application, come live with us, and speak with your feet. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Okay, we're kind of getting to the point where we're going to be calling to our next hearing, but go ahead, sir. Public hearing is open.
My name is Bill, and I I represent grassroots organizing in Western Wisconsin. Just because it was requested in terms of information about how things are currently working in terms of voluntary rental inspections right now. I do have the statistics that the gentleman is asking for, came from Dave in a meeting with the housing committee this summer, this fall. So we have 3,654 rental units in the city of Menomonie. Over the last 5 years, under voluntary rental inspections post Act 317, 178 of them have been inspected. 5 years. So that's about 35 of those 3,564, 3,054 properties per year. So that's how it's currently working.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Anybody else want to speak on this particular item in public hearings? Now is your opportunity to do so. Last call for this particular item in public hearing. Okay, we're going to close that particular item in public hearing, move on to our next public hearing address, and that will be 3B, public hearing for proposed ordinance 2026-03, an ordinance rezoning certain lands along 3M Drive, 6103 3M Drive, from restricted industrial I-1 district to local commercial B2 district. Mr. Schofield.
Yeah, so this is a quick trip at exit 45. They own a parcel to the west of the store. They're looking to rezone it to match the zoning of the remainder of the property. So I'll have a map when we get into the item 3 or 5B. But we did send it out, notice to everyone within 350 feet of this proposed rezoning, and we have a hearing tonight.
Good, thank you. Public hearing is now open for this particular item.
Good evening. My name is Bjorn Berg. I live in La Crosse, Wisconsin at 2601 Losey Boulevard South. But I did live in Menomonie for a couple years as I attended UW Stout from 2004 to 2006. I am here on behalf of Quick Trip this evening. We have requested rezoning for our parcel on 3M Drive from restricted industrial I-1 to local commercial B2. And this is to bring it in alignment with the rest of our existing property. We have no substantial plans for major changes or alterations to the property as it exists today. I am here for any questions that may arise as you deliberate this under item 5B.
Very good. Thank you, Bjorn.
Thank you.
And the public hearing is open on this particular item. If anybody else would like to speak, now is your opportunity to do so. Last call for a public hearing on this item. Okay, we're going to close the public hearings and move on with the rest of our meeting. Under public comments is a portion of our meeting where anybody can speak on agenda items for the evening, and you can speak for 3 minutes or less. Please give us your name and your address, and we will open up the public comment portion of our meeting at this time.
Ashley Demuth, 1125 North Broadway Street, Suite 3. I have the pleasure of serving as CEO for the Menomonie Area Chamber and Visitor Center, and tonight I'm here to speak relative to the topic of housing that's being addressed within Agenda Item 5A. Through regular engagement with our business community, the Chamber continues to hear that housing remains a persistent workforce challenge within the city, and employers of all sizes point to availability, quality, and affordability as key factors affecting the recruitment and retention. The Chamber appreciates the city's willingness to bring housing topics forward for discussion and to engage the council and community in conversations about how to strengthen housing options in Menomonie. The Chamber's role in this conversation is to focus on workforce and economic impacts, and tonight we wanted to share a broader business perspective. We are encouraged by efforts to improve housing quality and increase overall housing stock, both for rental units and for homes available for purchase. From a business standpoint, quality, well-maintained housing matters. When employees can find stable housing that meets their needs, they're more likely to remain in the workforce, stay in the community, and invest locally. When housing options are limited or inconsistent in quality, businesses experience higher turnover and greater difficulty filling open positions. We believe that it's also important to recognize that many rental properties in Menomonie are owned or managed by individual entrepreneurs or small businesses. working closely alongside these property owners and managers, including clear communication and education about existing processes and expectations, will be critical to the long-term success of housing improvements. In closing, from the Chamber's perspective, housing is fundamentally a workforce and economic issue. We look forward to continued dialogue focused on collaborative solutions that support employees, employers, housing providers, and the long-term vitality of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Again, public comments on agenda items for the evening is still open.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Eric Evenson, E4569 County Road FF, Boyceville. I'm here representing MSA Professional Services. I was part of the team that worked with David and Jeremy on the Well 9 project. I'm here to provide him some support if there's any questions on agenda item 6A.
Thank you, Eric. Public comments is open. If anybody else would like to speak, now is your opportunity to do so.
Good evening. I'm Kevin Oil with Cedar Corporation at 604 Wilson Avenue. I'm here regarding the task order that will be discussed under agenda item 6B, and I will be available to answer any questions that may come up during that discussion.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Again, public comments is open. If anybody else would like to speak on agenda items for the evening, we can do so at this time. Last call for public comments. Okay, we're going to close the public comments portion and move on with the rest of our meeting. Okay, that brings us to 5A under old business. Proposed ordinance 2026-02, an ordinance repealing and replacing Title 9, Chapter 2, residential rental properties, discussion possible waiver of the first reading, possible waiver of the second reading, and a possible adoption. Just before we get through this, I want to say this, that I think that having a housing group and listening to people and sorting through things works. I think the process works. I think that the staff, David Schofield, Eric, and others, worked hard to revise and restructure some of the information that came forward from the individuals from GROW and the SHIELD program. And I think when we had originally looked at this, we were looking at quite a big expense. We were looking at the entire city and what it would take for more building inspectors and what it would cost. And I think they refined this down to a point where it's manageable within our current building department. And so I think there was a lot of work done, and I actually congratulate the housing committee and the people from GROW and coming in and talking. I know sometimes you wonder if this is going in the right direction, but I'm very satisfied with the process and how it all came. People came up to the microphone. They were very respectful. We had good conversations, and these housing meetings went on for a few months. And I was pretty pleased that we were able to have a communication with the public and myself and people on that housing committee. The housing committee, I thought, did a good job with officiating, you might say. But I also want to give staff credit, because what brought forward was kind of massaged to a point where it would more so fit the city of Menomonie versus something that was just, here it is and we need you to accept it. So that all being said, I think if we look at this this particular ordinance, we should be looking at, instead of the guidelines or the boundaries that are set forth, that maybe we bring this back in a year and we take a new look at it and maybe adjust any of the things that aren't quite right, or we enhance the boundaries and make it bigger, or we tweak it, we give it those tweaks. So whatever happens tonight, it would be in, I think, the city's best interest to put it out, take care of it now, but reevaluate it in a year from now, because in a year from now, we may be in a better position to be able to hire more staff in the building department, or maybe there's some tweaks that we might want to make, and et cetera and so forth. But I really want to give the GROW people a lot of credit for coming forward, and I want to give the city staff credit. and the housing committee credit also for the process. I know that sometimes there was some tentative times at those housing meetings. But that's what we're all about. Not everybody agrees on everything all the time, and we come to a common ground. One of the things that I want to ask before we get into the council is I want to ask Dave, our head building inspector here, how he feels this is going to be handled by the inspection department and where it takes us from here. So, David, if you please.
Sure. I think the area that we have, there's 400 and some residencies there. We don't know how many are all rentals. We'll figure that out. I think it's our department can handle that. We can split it up into sections. We have 2 years to get through it, and then while it rotates, I think we can do that. I think the challenge is going to be building code, habitability codes. Now we got 2 codes we're going to be looking at. That could be kind of challenging. We'll work through it. I mean, obviously, we're going to look at life, safety, and health. And if it's affecting any of that, we'll write up those violations.
Okay, good. The thing that I think concerned me the most was in 2007. I think it was 2017 when the state changed the law challenging, the city's ability to be able to do successful, inspections and so forth. And I know we're always understaffed. I mean, if you're overstaffed, then we're not getting our it's always a challenge. Every department we're thin. Recently we hired 3 more firefighters and so forth and so on. And that was one of my main concerns going into this is are we going to have to spend $100,000 or $150,000 or $200,000 more? And so, but I think the housing committee working with Grow kind of condensed it and picked an area. And this is not a perfect scenario. This is not a perfect area. There's other parts of town that are just as, need as much work and as much help. But I think this is a starting point. And I think I just have to hand it to the folks that are here tonight because this is what makes the process work, is when you have a voice. And your voices are listened to and it is heard. And that's the most important thing we can have is a good voice. David Schofield, I have a question for you before we go on. The boundaries that are taken, and Lori, Mrs. Howe had some concerns about that open acreage. I guess that open acreage is just open acreage. But in a year from now, if we decide to open this up for larger boundaries or different boundaries, how does that affect the ordinance going forward?
Yeah, so the proposed district that's included in this was based on input received from the ad hoc committee. It was felt that this area had kind of a mix of rental, some single family. There is no minimum or maximum area of an NSED. I think it would be wise not to do single properties as an NSED, but there's no minimum or maximum. Clearly, if we defined every residential area of the city as an NSED, I think there are some folks that would believe that we were violating state code. But it's up to this body on what you declare to be either blighted, use the exact language, evidence of blight, high rates of building code complaints or violations, deteriorating property values, or increases in single-family home conversions. That's comes straight out of the code. We don't have to say that all of those categories are met, but we have to say at least one of them is met in order to declare a district of this type.
I see. Thank you. Okay, well, I'm going to open it up for discussion for council, and then we're
Mayor, could I?
Yeah, go ahead, David.
A short presentation on this.
Thank you.
If that's all right. Oops. So in your packet and then on the screen here, a number of maps and this sort of thing. So I just wanted to go through this. So again, proposed ordinance 2026-02 really does 5 things. The first of which is it defines a neighborhood stabilization district, district number 1, which is southeast of the campus, and I'll get into a map in just a second. It has proactive rental inspections within that designated NSED. Does not, I want to be clear, it does not add proactive rental inspections across the entire city of Menomonie. That's not what this ordinance does. Third is to give landlords 30 days to address habitability violations found during either complaint-based or proactive rental inspections. Fourth, it adds rent abatement if confirmed habitability violations are not addressed within 30 days. And then fifth, it adds retaliation protections for tenants that participate in complaint-based or proactive rental inspections. One of the things that we heard with respect to complaint-based rental inspections, which we currently provide, is that folks felt that the participation in that were lacking because folks didn't believe that they wouldn't be evicted shortly thereafter after they submitted a complaint. So by adding the retaliation protections, we have some ability to limit or at least punish landlords that did retaliate. So I want to clear, and let's go into the housing map. So there was a question on how this area was determined. So up on your screen and in your packet is a dot map. So these red dots are all the areas where we've done a complaint-based housing inspection over the last 5 years. You can see there's a few in North Menomonie, but not a terrible high number of them. I have to be honest with you, I thought there would be more in South Menomonie. But the bulk of them were either in the Fowler's Court neighborhood, kind of what I would call the Main Street East neighborhood, or in kind of the area east of the UW South campus. So those are the housing inspections that have been done in the last 5 years. These yellow dots are single family to multifamily home conversions in the last 5 years. You can see, I don't know if there's any in North Menomonie. There are a number of them in South Menomonie, a few in the Fowler's Court neighborhood, a few kind of near where we're sitting right now, and a few out south. And this is what's in the NSED. So if you overlay all the green dots, which is the registered rental units, the red dot, which is the housing inspections, and the yellow dots, the ad hoc housing committee recommended an NSED defined by 5th Street East, 14th Avenue, and Dairyland Road. This is I think it's a quarter section. Runs down south, and then at that time they recommended using Galloway Creek. I understand that some of the parcels do go over Galloway Creek, but most structures do. Kind of by definition, you can't build a structure in a creek. So that was felt to be a kind of a nice dividing line of where the structures were located. So just to be clear, this is not all of Ward number 9. A little bit of it is actually in Cody's ward, Ward number 7, and then there's a good chunk of Ward number 9 that is not included in this NSED. So we received a couple of comments that said, why are we declaring an entire ward to be blighted? First of all, we're not declaring it to be blighted. We're declaring it to have a large number of rental units that have building code complaints and a large number of single-family home conversions to rental units. A couple of things just to clarify. We currently provide voluntary and complaint-based rental inspections. Whether or not this code is adopted, whether or not proposed ordinance 2026-02 is approved, we will continue to provide voluntary and complaint-based inspections. So if folks have a situation that they feel that is unsafe, they should contact our building inspection department. We have a form. It's on the website. We've published it both on our website and on social media in recent months. And we can do a better job. We can and we will do a better job of advertising those opportunities. If the ordinance is approved, proactive rental inspection will be provided only in the NSED. So areas outside of the NSED will not have proactive rental inspections. I want to be very clear on this because this has been repeated several times in several different ways. We will not provide proactive rental inspections outside of the NSED unless this body decides to add additional NSEDs, expand the boundary. We will not be providing proactive rental inspections outside of the NSED. Owner-occupied homes and commercial properties are exempt from proactive rental inspections. A number of the calls that I received from folks that got our letter were just wondering why we were including their property in this. It's a geographic boundary, as you can see on the screen. There are certainly some single-family owner-occupied homes within that. They're not subject to proactive rental inspections. Proactive rental inspections do have some several limitations. The first of which is that in order to do a proactive rental inspection, written consent from an adult tenant who is present at the time of inspection is required. So there may be some tenants that are not interested in having somebody from the city into their property, whether they have something in their property they don't want folks to see. Sometimes people aren't terribly proud of the condition of their property. We are not going to be able to force our way in. If we have a complaint that's substantiated by someone, and we could do a warrant to do an inspection warrant, that's a possibility. But otherwise, we're going to require written consent from that adult tenant who was there at the time. So there's going to be some limitation on the ability for us to cover the entire ward within that time period if folks don't comply or don't participate. The second is that proactive rental inspections are only a snapshot at a time. If we go in there on a Tuesday in February, and on Wednesday they bring in a gas-powered space heater, we're only going to know what's in there on that Tuesday. We're not going to have extra vision to know what somebody might do with the property for the next 2 years. So there, we can only say with certainty what's in there at the time that we do the inspection. Proactive rental inspections will be conducted every 2 years. A lot of things can happen within 2 years, as you folks know. Additionally, Wisconsin statutes has several carve-outs. So if a property either passes its initial inspection, or if it fails the initial inspection but repairs those habitability violations within 30 days, we can't go back in and inspect that property for 5 years. That's not our choice. That's what state code says. So there's a pretty, yes, sir.
That's 5 years just for the proactive rental inspection, right? It's still complaint based.
Correct. We can still do it complaint based, yes. But the proactive part is 5 years. Also, proactive rental inspections cannot occur within the first 8 years of a property. So a new rental unit, we can't inspect it for 8 years, at least as a proactive rental. We could do a complaint based inspection, but not as a proactive rental. So this ordinance was recommended by the Ad Hoc Housing Committee on December 9th. City Council introduced and referred it on December 5th. City Council, or City Planning Commission, recommended approval on the 26th. Before you tonight is there's 3 potential motions. The first potential motion is waive the first reading of the proposed ordinance. And I think that's in my memo on the topic. Answer number 1 is located almost entirely within Ward 9, and as we know, we don't have currently a representative from Ward 9 on the board. One option would be to waive the second reading at your next meeting, which would be February 16th, and then consider adoption at your meeting on March 2nd, at which time there would be, presumably, at least according to the schedule we put forth to appoint a new member. On March 2nd, there would be a representative from Ward 9. On your tables, and I do have them on the screen if anyone wants us to pull up any of them in particular, we did receive written comments from Tim Nelson, Gretchen Yanko, who turns out to be on the screen here, Emily Weiss, Craig Stelter, Jack Stelter, and Pathways, who spoke during the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Schofield. Any questions for Mr. Schofield? Rylan?
I just wanted to say that I've heard from a bunch of renters that have pretty much said the same thing, but one of them who emailed me a while back, who spoke about, or when I suggested to them that they contact Dave, our building inspector, they quoted their landlord who said, I called to the building inspector, would lead to an eviction. And that is common. That is completely opposite of what a lot of landlords will say to non-tenants. And so when the question came up of how many complaints Dave's gotten about rentals, it turned out to be about 35 a year. There's a lot more complaints that are going on. They're not being ending up at the building inspection office for that exact reason of tenants are being threatened to be evicted if they contact the building inspection permit at all.
There is a provision in this new ordinance to eliminate that.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Schofield or otherwise? Cody, go ahead.
Real quick before we go a whole lot further, I just want to highlight a couple of things that kind of came up in the public hearing and that have been discussed about this ordinance. And one thing that's been brought up a lot is education. I think education is important. As one of the commenters mentioned, this ordinance came with a few other things attached, like an education campaign, like incentives for landlords that, do follow the rules. That wasn't included in the ordinance because we didn't really feel that it was material for an ordinance, more policy, more program. And so, I do think we need to do education, but education isn't enough. Based on the complaints that we receive informally as elected officials, the legitimate complaints we do receive, complaints that have gone to DATCAP, I believe it was like 25% of the DATCAP complaints had mention of retaliation. So, unfortunately, this happens, and I'd like to think that it's pretty rare, and that most tenants who believe that, who are afraid of calling the building inspector are, just being overly cautious and wouldn't actually face that. But without protections in place, what are they supposed to do? Do they take that risk, or do they just, make it to the end of their lease? One other thing that I wanted to highlight is that the inspections under this ordinance come from Wisconsin Act 317. As was mentioned, Wisconsin Act 317 was the law that sort of removed the power of municipalities to regularly inspect rental properties in Wisconsin. This ordinance works within the framework that sort of replaced that law. Before it became law, Act 317 was known as Assembly Bill 771. According to the Ethics Commission, 628 hours were spent on official lobbying in regard to that bill. The Apartment Association of South Central Wisconsin, the Apartment Association of Southeastern Wisconsin, the Wisconsin Apartment Association, the NAIOP Wisconsin, and the Wisconsin Realtors Association spent 404 hours, or almost 2/3 of the logged hours, lobbying in favor of the bill. And I also heard, I don't know that I can't confirm the statistic independently, but I've heard that 1 in 5 of the legislators that voted on that bill were landlords. That is to say that landlord and real estate interests were seemingly instrumental in creating this framework. Now we are just trying to use the rules that they wrote. That's really the only point that I need to make that hasn't already been covered in all the comments.
Hey, Cody. Ryan, your microphone is still on. I think that we've had good discussion. I think that we've got a great audience. I think that we're ready to move this forward. Is there any other discussion pieces? Otherwise, we need to make some motions. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have to make a few comments. Right. Obviously, this is a serious situation, something that concerns everybody. But I do have some reservations about some parts of this, and primarily the NSAID stuff. I'm not a big fan of blanket solutions. I mean, that's my primary concern. Is you may reduce some things, some of the problems, but everyone else gets wrapped up into this solution, and they necessarily maybe don't belong in that. As far as the area that's defined, there are single-family houses or residents there, and this will affect them. I'm confident in that. They may not know this, but because of my profession, I'm confident that it could negatively affect them significantly. I certainly wouldn't want to be in one of these areas if I was a single-family owner primary residence. I think it was mentioned tonight as well by Ryan, maybe, that, and I do think this could be a concern as well, is
as far as having investment folks come in here wanting to invest in Menomonie or different areas of Menomonie, they may shy away from that because they feel like the government is going to be a little too heavy-handed, and obviously it's not cost-effective if that's the situation they find themselves in. As a matter of fact, I was just talking to some individual, and I can't recall exactly who it was, but ironically, it was someone who supports something that we've been talking about significantly in the past, which I didn't think there was anybody, at least I was told. And this particular person knows a significant amount of contractors and investors in this type of property. And unbeknownst to me, the rumor in Eau Claire is that investors don't want to come to Menomonie because of the red tape, because of the restrictions that are placed on residential and development of single-family, multifamily homes. And I've seen it myself being on this council, so I do have a concern with it primarily for that reason, and I probably won't support this. I certainly think that we should. I certainly do think we should try to resolve these issues to the best of our ability, but I think it should be more precise and less of a blanket kind of approach. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Matthew?
Oh yeah, I just kind of wanted to touch up, on some things and being on the housing committee and working on this for 7 months and how we massaged everything out. And some of this will be repetitive from what David had said, but rent abatement is for the entire city. The inset is just for the proactive rental inspection. The inset is based on data. The violations and complaints converted from single-family homes to multifamily rentals. So I don't think it's a blanket approach. Abatement doesn't apply if the tenant does damage. Inset does not equal blighted. I don't believe we use blighted in the data at all. Additional inspector will not be needed. The city has the capacity to conduct inspections per the state statute in the inset. The inset does not lower the property values in the area based on data that we've seen in the state. And the inset does not need to be reported on a realtor form. And the general education campaigns by themselves don't work. If they worked, we'd all brush our teeth 3 times a day and eat 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. So that by itself, will not work. So I think we have a really good basis for a program here, a system in place, and being someone that's an environmental health and safety professional to do, nothing. I'm not saying we're doing nothing now, but to not do anything additional to what we are doing and seeing the results of our current housing stock, is the definition of insanity. I think we do need to do something it's never perfect, but this is a living, breathing program. We have the ordinance, then we're going to have programs, and those programs mature over time and get better over time into total housing stock. And we've lost out on investments in the city due to our deteriorating housing stock as well. So I think it's important that we pass this today.
Eric?
Yeah, I'd just like to respond to that, and I'm sure certainly not going after Matt here at all, but I do want to just point out, one point in particular is that when someone is going to sell a property, a residential property, they have to be truthful in any kind of defect, whether that be structural or material. And I personally had experience last year concerning some properties out near where, and I hate to bring this up, the data center is going to be. And I felt I was obligated, I think, by law to disclose that there's a potential data center going to be built there. And I know that affected some property values in that area. So it may not be defined as bladed, but it's right in our packet. So my point is, that could be brought up in, and I always have to look at this, and any agent or anyone who does a transaction through state statute has to think, how will this be seen in a court of law? So just saying it's not bladed doesn't fly. Okay, it can be argued that it is being defined as bladed. Matter of fact, it's right in the city council packet. So that's all I'm saying, is that just because they're saying it's not bladed, that doesn't mean necessarily that can't be proven wrong in the court of law. That's what I think.
And just to touch on that just real quick, it is unfortunate that it is an area where the single family homes are included in this. It'd be nice if it could have been, rental properties or so forth. But as it stands, it is tonight is a boundaried area, and so forth. And we have a hand up by Gretchen Yanko. Gretchen, go ahead, please.
Sorry, I had to do some technical stuff here. I just wanted to talk about the words we use and the individual properties versus the NSAID as a whole. And I feel that there's an opportunity being missed here to start with our language about this NSAID now, because in my view, it is a great thing to be proactively working on improving a portion of Menomonie. Realistically, we can't do the whole city because we always want to be improving the properties in our city and making it more and more attractive to live here. So having a area, an NSAID, that is proactively making improvements is a positive. If I was looking at property, I would appreciate an area of the town that is actively working towards improvement and has a high potential of future being much better rather than a deterioration, has a proactive, positive future for the quality of the property and the quality of the rental. So it's our language that we're using that is really important here, and I think that I have always viewed it and said as it's kind of a working area where we're trying to make an improvement on the scale that we can as a city. And I don't think it's negative at all. And how we talk about it now, just flip the script. It's very easy to put a positive view of this for anybody coming in. I would view it differently, and you always want to buy low, sell high. Well, here's your chance. So that's my comment.
Okay, thank you, Gretchen. All right, and we got another hand. Mary, go ahead.
The speakers tonight, I gave us some suggestions that I was very happy to hear, and one of them was to maybe give this a time period and come back after it's been, out and workable for say a year, and then reevaluate and see if we want to make some changes or something. If we keep track of things that have happened during inspections, or some of the landlords, if they give us ideas, I think it's well worth revisiting this at a certain realistic time period.
I think that's a great suggestion because there might be a lot that we might learn in the next year or so. I would definitely suggest that in whoever makes the motion, if the motion is made, if it gets that far, then we could take a year look at it, re-examine it, enhance it, change it, tweak it, whatever it takes to make it better. I think that's a great suggestion. Thank you, Mary. Ryland?
I just wanted to respond to Eric's comment on being in the NSAID, potentially reducing property value. From my own personal experience, my previous two houses had a mix of single family and rental properties as next door neighbors, and we were able to purchase those really inexpensively because the rental properties next door were so run down that they brought our single family house down to an affordable amount. Then years later, those rental properties changed hands, were brought up to current code, made much nicer. Our property value jumped up because you don't want to live next to a neighbor that has, broken windows, trash in the yard. That brings your property value down. So this whole idea of an NSAID reducing property values, I don't quite get where that's coming from, because it should increase not only the property values, but the value of the city as a whole to fix those issues. Having seen that firsthand, the idea that it is going to reduce property values by saying we're dedicated to fixing this is just absurd. It seems like it's going to be beneficial for everybody, both the people who need a safe place to live, and their neighbors. I don't think we can go wrong with this.
Okay, and of course, there's different perspectives on all of these things, and that's what makes it work. So I appreciate everybody's comments here. Cody?
Yeah, really quick. Just because the whole discussion about the NSAID, that was, a big topic at committee and researching it. It's definitely one of the more tricky areas of the ordinance. But I also just want to, be very clear. It stands for Neighborhood Stabilization and Enhancement District. So it is something with a positive connotation. It has nothing to do with blight. We could have considered blight, but we didn't. And so we kind of went out of our way to avoid using that term and using that because it is a loaded term. But realistically, this district is little more than lines on a map to determine where this inspection ordinance is in operation. For homeowners and owner-occupied properties, being within the border is basically irrelevant. And I think some of the grow folks might know this better than me, but in other cities where something like this has been done, I think Eau Claire and Racine was one of the kind of case studies. Property values did go up in their districts that they were doing inspections. So I wanted to just kind of put that out there. Also like to make a motion to waive the first reading.
Okay. That ends discussion. Motion's been on the floor to waive the first reading. Ryland?
I would second Cody's motion.
Motion been made and seconded to waive the first reading. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And now if somebody wants to make a motion to waive the second reading, yes, do that at this time.
I'll move to waive the second reading.
Okay. And Abigail?
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded to waive the second reading. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Go ahead, Ryland.
For the audience, could we just get a brief explanation of what the waiving of the reading is?
Right. Instead of going through the entire ordinance and reading it all to you in length, basically the council members, and it was posted what the ordinance is. So then that being said, it was then read by those individuals that are voting on it, and it's their prerogative at that point to waive the reading. And if it's seconded, and then we have a prerogative to also do that on the second reading. If that's waived as well, then they can go ahead and make the motion to adopt the said ordinance. That's kind of how that flavors. But thank you. That's a good explanation piece. So that being said, did we approve the second reading? So we're at adoption. So if somebody'd like to make a motion to adopt this, we can certainly do that at this time, and then we can take it from there. Go ahead, Cody.
I'll move to adopt proposed ordinance 2026-02, an ordinance repealing and replacing Title IX, Chapter 2, residential rental properties. Can I add that we request the building inspection department provide a report on the operation?
You can certainly add that. You can add that, and also I would appreciate if you would add that we would put a year out and take another look at this to make some improvements. You can add that into your motion, and then it's up to the council whether they would pass that motion as it lies. So go ahead.
Okay, so I'll move to adopt ordinance 2026-02 and also request we review the ordinance again in a year and get a report from the building inspection department about how the implementation of the ordinance has gone.
Okay, sounds like a good motion, Ben. Good motion, Mary.
I will second Cody's motion.
Okay, motion made and seconded to adopt said ordinance. Now it moves back into discussion, and then we'll move into a vote. Anybody got a discussion piece? Seeing none. Go ahead.
And just to confirm on it, it's similar to what we did with the ATV UTV ordinance when you're saying bring it back to have a discussion in front of council. No sunset provision on it. You're just talking about bringing it back to discuss.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, good. Thank you for clarity, Ben. Okay, we're going to do a roll call vote then.
Sutherland,
No.
Pickard,
Yes.
Yanko,
Yes.
Schweppes,
Yes.
Gentz,
Yes.
Solberg,
Yes.
Erdman,
Yes.
Sommerfeld,
Yes.
Luther,
Yeah.
Crow.
Yes.
Okay, it passes. And we're moving on to our next piece of business. That brings us to. Right. Sure we can. Do we want to take a 2-minute break and we'll be right back with you in case anybody wants to stretch their legs. So we'll be back in about 5 minutes. Thank you. Oh, we're pretty lighthearted this evening, and thank you everybody for your patience, and thank you for the stretching of my legs. That being said, we are back in session with the city council meeting, and we're moving on to the next piece of business, which would be the public hearing, or the proposed ordinance 2026-03, an ordinance reserving certain lands along 3M Drive, 6103 3M Drive from restricted industrial I-1 district to local commercial B2 district. And David Schofield had brought us a little bit up to speed before the public hearing, but I would have him enhance that for a moment before we take this into discussion. David Schofield, please.
Yeah, so in your packet and on the screens is a map of the area that's being proposed to be rezoned from I-1 to B2. This is the area west of the exit 45 Quick Trip, south of the Better Bright Truck Wash, which I believe is now owned by Quick Trip as well. This property at one time was owned by a fuel company that used to have propane tanks on the property. Quick Trip bought it quite a while ago and it's just been kind of sitting on it since then. So they will be coming back before the Plan Commission, at least, with a certified survey map to merge their parcels out there into a single parcel. We don't allow a single parcel to be multiple different zones. So they've requested this rezoning to B2 so that all their property is the same. Their application is in the packet. The one thing I did want to share with the commission is this, or the council, is this is a excerpt of our comprehensive plan. You can see as I only call this the bubbles. You can see that this parcel is within the future commercial land use area, so it's consistent with our comprehensive plan. We, as you saw from the lack of public comment at this during the public hearing, we've received no objections from any of the adjacent property owners. I think I had one or two that just had questions about, they thought this was somehow impacting their property and rezoning their property, and I explained that it was not. So before you tonight is a consideration for possible waiver of first reading, possible waiver of second reading, and possible adoption of ordinance 2026-03.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Schofield, for that information. That brings us up to Jeff Luther. Go ahead, please.
I'd like to make a motion to waive the first reading. I propose ordinance 2026-03.
Thank you. Is there a second to Jeff's motion? Abigail?
I'll second.
Okay, motion been made and seconded to waive the first reading. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anybody want to make a motion to waive the second reading and do so at this time? Abigail?
I make a motion to waive the second reading of proposed ordinance 2026-03.
Motion's been made. Does anybody want to second that motion? Jeff?
I'll second Abigail's motion.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And then if somebody wants to make a motion to adopt, you can do so at this time. Abigail?
I make a motion to adopt proposed ordinance 2026-03, an ordinance rezoning certain lands along 3M Drive from restricted industrial I-1 district to local commercial B2 district.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion? Lee, go ahead.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Just my understanding that the local commercial zoning is more restrictive than the I-1 zoning. Is that correct? Or like, what are the major differences there?
Local commercial is more restrictive. I-1 allows anything in local commercial plus industrial this would essentially be a down zone.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted some clarification on that. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? All right, we're gonna do a roll call. Go ahead.
Yemko,
Yes.
Pickard,
Yes.
Schweppes,
Yes.
Lance,
Yes.
Stolberg,
Yes.
Erdmann,
Yes.
Sommerfeld,
Yes.
Luther,
Yeah.
Crow,
Yes.
Sutherland.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the next piece of business. Under new business, 6A, consider award of construction contract for phase 1 of well number 9. I'm really impressed with this well project. There's a lot going on with it. It's a big project, but Mr. Schofield will bring us up to speed. David?
Yeah, back in December, I gave you folks an update on the project. We have now received bids. Again, well number 9 is proposed just southwest of diamond number 7 in Wakanda Park. I have on the screen in your packet a map that shows the general location. There's a site plan and then also some building renderings, cross sections and floor plans and that sort of a thing. On January 21st, MSA opened public bids for the project that had been publicly noticed and published on their website. There were 5 bids that were received for phase 1 of the project. The phase 1 bids range from approximately $4.5 million to $5.1 million. The low bidder was Mark and Johnson out of Eau Claire. We have experience with Mark and Johnson. They did phase 1 of the wastewater treatment plant back in 2018 through 2020, and then they did the community services building prior to that. I think we've been happy with their work. Certainly is not a contractor that we would declare to be incompetent. So I think we're satisfied with the bid that we received. As a reminder, we got $1.6 million in principal forgiveness, which is essentially a grant for this project. The remainder of the project will be funded through low interest loans. I think it was approximately 2% was the long-term loan for that. We will need to do some interim financing because our loan won't close until early summer. So Eric and I and others have kind of looked at our options for that. I believe it was approximately 1.4 million that we would have to essentially fund ourselves until that loan closes. But we do have cash available for that. So we are recommending award of the construction contract of phase 1 of the Well 9 project to Mark and Johnson of Eau Claire, Wisconsin, at a cost of $4,532,172.30, contingent upon receipt of bonding and insurance. If this passes, we will be working on phase 2. That would be bid probably this fall or late winter. We are going to be applying for CBG funding for another $1 million potentially. I never count on grant funding, but we are going to try, and we'll obviously go after some drinking water again. So we'll be back before you folks probably late this fall with bids for the second phase. But these first bids came in well compared to the engineer's estimate. We're recommending to proceed.
Question. So you mentioned $1.6 million of forgiveness. I know you had something to do with that. Tell us how you accumulated that 1.6.
Well, I'm not gonna take credit for that. MSA worked very hard on that. 1.6 is the maximum award that a project can get. I think MSA did a very nice job of separating out the project so that we could make all of the eligibility requirements for the portion of the project that we've bid here today. They've done an excellent job with this project, so I will give all the credit in that 1.6 to them.
So MSA, and we have a representative here tonight from MSA, and we appreciate that $1.6 million. The one thing that kind of upsets me more than anything was the 30 cents added on to the end of the bill. The quote, I think they're 30 cents high. But other than that, I think it's a good thing, and I'm excited to have well number 9 be put into play. Maybe before we do this, David, maybe you could just touch a little bit on how many wells we have and when we have another well that's going to be discontinued and so forth.
Well, Jeremy Hoyt is here, and he always feels bad about not getting to speak, so I'm going to let him.
Jeremy, if you take the microphone, please. Yeah, fill us in a little bit on our well scenarios.
Because you can't remember how many we have. We have 3 currently. I don't know what they are.
Wait. We have 3 current wells? This is well number 9.
Yep. Over the years,
1, 2 went away. I was here to see 3 and 5 go away, but 7, I believe, was the test well, so we still haven't figured that out exactly where number 7 fell into the play. But yeah, 6 and 8. 8 is formerly well 3 on Crescent Street there, and this will be 9 adding to it.
Okay, so it's not accumulation of 9 wells. It's just that's well number 9 in population from the past.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So how long? What's the life expectancy of a well?
Can be if it's done correctly, 100 years. You know, when well 3 was in service before it, we think it was a lightning strike that cracked the casing. That was drilled in 1932, and we had to re-drill it in 2017. So,
wow, that's pretty incredible. And the other thing, folks, to remember and realize is, you know, these wells are down. How many feet down is this well, David?
446 feet.
446.
I believe that's what it is.
Okay, 446 feet down, and the quality of the water that's coming up from those wells is, I mean, it's amazing. So I do give the city of Menomonie and the past, you know, the forefathers of the city, you know, kudos for doing a good job with the water and drinking water in the wells, and I do have to say, MSA for a $1.6 million help. They're worth their time and money, so appreciate that. Anything else you want to add to this, Jeremy, while you got the microphone?
No, this is a great project. We desperately need some relief on our distribution system in the summertime, and this will hopefully do that for us. So.
Great, Mary, go ahead.
Jeremy, when does the next well plan for? Do you have an idea when, or?
Yeah. So Dave's idea was to have this filter plant be able to handle a well 10 in the future. So we kind of have an idea where we want that. So it might be 20 years, but after this project, we'd be ready to go if we needed it in 5 years.
Yeah, so right now, each of our wells has a water treatment plant attached to it. Each of those treatment plants have horizontal sand filters. They have an aerator. The idea behind this one is we oversized the well house to accommodate the future aerator. We weren't able to, and keep the budget that we wanted, be able to oversize it to include space for the horizontal pressure filter, but we have space available for it so that everything, we're not going to have to move anything outside of the building. The wells will have to be at least, I think it's either 1,200 or 2,400 feet apart, so there would be a well away from this treatment plant and just pumping raw water to the treatment plant. It allows us to, have one set of gauges and one set of electrical controls and all that sort of stuff at this facility just lowers our maintenance. One of the things that DNR looks at is firm well capacity. So they take your largest well out of service and say you need to meet all your requirements without that well. So kind of ironically, we'd actually be worse off doing one very large well versus 2 slightly smaller wells because we're going to lose, let's say we somehow found a 2,000 gallon a minute well. That one would pop right off in the firm well capacity calculations, and then we would still be left with the existing wells that we currently have.
Okay. Yeah, right. Go ahead.
For Jeremy, how big of a well is this? Just for,
like the drill hole, 24 inch. We went 24 inch on it, I believe. Yeah, 24 inch drill hole. Then it will be cased. Then we could, if that were ever fail, we could put a smaller casing inside that, to extend the life of it. Just strict volume.
And roughly how much water do you expect to be able to pump per minute or per hour?
We hope to get 900 gallons per minute, maybe, possibly more. But
okay, so it's a $4.5 million well is a lot bigger than
and that's why we did
everybody's used to.
Yeah, that's why we did drill the test well and did the test pumping, and we figure out, as close as we can get that we're going to get at least 900 gallons a minute for it. So,
okay, thanks.
Jeremy, are we I know in the past we've had talks about being able to supply stout, and with water in the summer when everybody's watering their yards and all this stuff. How do we, with this well 9, when that goes into life, are we okay with all the water that we need to handle the city?
Yep. And right now on the 3, we have all the water we need. It's just that our wells don't ever get any, enough rest. So it's our well pumps, our motors. It's really shortening the life on them all. We could get 13 years. 20 years ago, we could get 13 years out of a well pump. Now we might get 6 or 7. So.
Okay, I'm going to try to keep this thing moving. So, if anybody would like to, we have a motion on the floor?
No.
We don't have a motion on the floor yet to put this together. So, Matthew.
Yeah, I'll make the motion to award the construction contract for phase 1 of the well number 9 project to Market and Johnson from Eau Claire, Wisconsin, at a cost of $4,532,172.30, contingent upon receipt of bonding and insurance.
Thank you. Abigail?
I'll second Matt's motion.
Motion been made and seconded. Any additional discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Pickard,
Yes.
Schwebs,
Yes.
Gintz,
Yes.
Solberg,
Yes.
Erdman,
Yes.
Sommerfeld,
Yes.
Luther, Crow,
Yes.
Sutherland,
Yes.
Yanko.
Yes.
Brings us down to 6B, consider engineering task order for design of the Heller Road and Oak Avenue sidewalk project. Mr. Schofield, what do you got on the screen?
Yeah, so TID number 14 is closing. In the near future, we have an expenditure period that ends September 7th of 2026. We can't start projects after that date. We can continue on with a project that has already been awarded, but we can't start a new project. So we're looking at spending some funds to improve Heller Road and Oak Avenue. So on Heller Road, we would be doing a reconstruct from US Highway 12 to just past the golf course driveway. With that, we would be adding sidewalk on one side of the road. On the screen and in your packet is a conceptual layout where it would be on the north side of the road until there's kind of a major driveway to the Tantera Apartments, where we would switch over and then continue on the south side the rest of the way. This fits the right of way pretty well. It fits the tenants that are, or at least as many of the apartment buildings as we can fit out there. Additionally, Oak Avenue did not have sidewalk installed when it was first constructed. There are a number of pedestrian-friendly developments out there. And so with this TID, I'd like to extend sidewalk at least out to, I can't remember the name of the hotel here, but I think it's American Inn. It fits best on the south side of the road, at least up until just past Quick Trip, and then it would switch over to the north side of the road and end at the driveway of the hotel. If someone were staying at the hotel and wanted to go get a bite to eat at the new Culvers, they would be able to walk along the sidewalk and get there. We do see folks just walking along the side of the road, or they walk through the parking lot of the BP and Quick Trip. This seems like a better way to handle this. Additionally, right now at the corner of Oak Avenue and Broadway, it gets really tight. I think the lane widths are probably 11 to 12 feet. So when you're coming off of Broadway and heading towards Quick Trip, it's a very thin throat there. And if you've ever been out there when a larger truck is trying to make that turn, it's not very comforting. So as part of this, we're anticipating widening Oak Avenue just right at the intersection to try to provide a proper right turn lane here that would allow us to move the through and left lane over a little bit and just restore that space on the westbound lanes so that they can make that corner. This area does get a little expensive because there's traffic signals, street lights, handholds for all of those things, and so there's a bunch of stuff that needs to happen here. Cedar Corporation has proposed a task order of $95,000 for the design work of this. I think that's a very reasonable number, and I'm recommending approval of the task order.
I think that's all great. The only one question I have is, I know years back, we had taken off the charges to people that were going to have a sidewalk put in front of their houses and so forth, and we don't charge for that anymore. However, the maintenance of the sidewalk is still the responsibility of the owner of the property there. So have we reached out to these property owners to let them know what we're looking at doing?
As we get into design, we'll have a public information meeting for residents and property owners in this area. We've gotten rid of special assessments for sidewalks. We do still have special assessments for curb and gutter and utilities. With this being a TID project and the TID has funds in it, we will likely not assess those improvements on Heller Road.
Okay, so now is the time to do it if we're going to do it. The only thing is I know that I'll be getting a phone call from those property owners to say they've got sidewalk that they shovel in the wintertime, which we're not going to get any more snow ever again, so we should be good. Okay, so that brings us to the point of award. If we want to do this, consider engineering task order, we would need a motion to do so. Mary.
I would make a motion to approve the engineering task order with Secret Corporation for the Heller Road and Oak Avenue sidewalk project at the cost of $95,000 from TID 14.
Good motion. Thank you. Is there a second? Abigail.
I'll second Mary's motion.
Motion been made, second, and any additional discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Schweppes,
Yes.
Kent,
Yes.
Stolberg,
Yes.
Erdmann,
Yes.
Sommerfeld,
Yes.
Luther, Crow,
Yes.
Sutherland,
Yes.
Hankel,
Yes.
Pickard.
Yes.
Okay, great. That brings us down to 6D, proposed 2026 senior center lease agreement. The senior center is amazing. They do so much. I was out there talking to Donna. She's in the audience if we need to ask her them any questions, but they are just pivotal to our community. And I'm going to let Eric Atkinson talk a little bit about the lease agreement, and what they all do for our community is amazing. And thank you very much for your hard work with the senior center. Eric?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So before you today is the 2026 lease agreement with the senior center at our Religious Services Center. This is basically a repeat of the lease that we bring to you each year. It does have the accommodations for the UW Stout daycare center that is in there right now. As far as the senior center, what kind of attendance they've been marvelous. They provide great service to our community. They provide activities, a place to go and have companionship. Good things about them. As far as the price and the rent, I think it's pretty reasonable at $1 a year because of the services that they provide to the community. So the staff has reviewed it and we are recommending approval.
Thank you, Mr. Atkinson. Lee Schweppes.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the 2026 senior center lease agreement as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion? Mary?
I will second Lee's motion.
Motion been made and seconded. Any additional discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you. Moving on to 6D, discuss possible rescheduling of second city council in March 23rd, 2026 due to UW Stout and School District Menomonie area spring break. Eric, bring us up to speed on that, please.
Yeah, so our second council meeting in March lands on the spring break weeks. And we wanted to double check as staff to see if you wanted to continue to hold the meeting that week or push it to the following week since we have a 5 Mondays in the month of March. So we're looking for direction from this council and this body for how you would like to schedule it.
And we have 5 Mondays, you said?
We have 5.
Okay, so
okay, we can push plan commission too, and everybody fit in all the meetings that we need to for the month.
Great. I think it's a great idea. Mary?
I'd make a motion to reschedule the second city council meeting in March to March 23rd.
Okay, thank you. Randy?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion been made and seconded. Any additional discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you. It comes down to 6E. Received the final report of the ad hoc housing committee. Cody got to chair it at the last few meetings, and he's got a report ready for us. So Cody, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so I promised the mayor that I wouldn't read the whole thing for you, even though I really wanted to. But the report that we put together is just sort of a summary of what the committee did, the composition of the committee, as well as some of the sort of the recommendations and the items that we discussed doing, but didn't really have a chance to take concrete action on. So those were affordable housing revolving loan fund, potentially working with like Home Sweet Menomonie, affordable housing development using city-owned land, kind of revisiting that RSOQ we did previously, potentially talking about permanent housing or economic development, group with the city, kind of carry this action into the long term. Housing education and outreach, which we heard about earlier today with the ordinance, and then similarly, landlord incentives linked to housing quality. Those are all things that the committee kind of discussed, but didn't really, take a formal sort of action on, just like ideas that are potentially good for the city to consider in the future. And then just to, cover my bases, the housing committee recommended the lot size change that we did earlier. The committee went through and with the staff's help, wrote up the inspections ordinance 2602. We reviewed that RFSOQ and brought it to council, and produced residential design standards for TIF incentives. So those were kind of the things that we made formal recommendations on. There were other things that we didn't get a chance to talk about and make an official action on, but yeah, that about sums it up.
Good job, Cody. Appreciate all that. And I know if you go in depth, you did a real nice report, and we appreciate your hard work on that. Thank you. Moving on to budget transfers, fire department. Eric, do you want to touch a little bit on the fire department budget transfer?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So the Menomonie Fire Department had the opportunity to install some new hardware in each of their stations, Station 1 and Station 2. This hardware is for the radio system, which when they would be called out to different calls, whether it be fire alarms, house fires, or emergency medical response, the system would only be activated at the appropriate station. Right now, both stations will get activated, and then if it's 2, 3 in the morning when one station is trying to rest, the other one that should be going to the call will go to the call, but then it wakes up those that should be resting on there. So in other words, it just divides up and gets the tones that signal the call outs for the firefighter paramedics to go to the correct station, while keeping the ones in the station that do not need to respond. They can stay stationary and continue their rest and make sure the appropriate people respond. The cost is just shy of $9,200. They do not have money currently in their budget that they can transfer around because they have anticipated expenses in their line items. So this money would actually come from the contingency fund.
Okay, thank you for that information. I think that's an important aspect to consider is good rest for one fire department and still be able to answer the calls. A small fee to pay. So with that being in mind, if anybody would like to support this little motion, you can certainly do so at this time. Jeff, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget transfer for the fire department for radio laser system.
Okay, thank you. Randy.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded. Any additional discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Hance,
Yes.
Silberg,
Yes.
Erdman,
Yes.
Summerfeld,
Yes.
Luther,
Yes.
Crow,
Yes.
Sutherland,
Yes.
Yanko,
Yes.
Pickard,
Yes.
Schwentz,
Yes.
Great, thank you. It brings us down to the mayor's report. I'll be real brief. I did have the opportunity on Saturday to take a youngster fishing with the cops and bobbers fishing gathering out on Lake Menomonie. I think we had 9 kids. I think that was maxed out. With that, we had 9 ice fishing packs. 9 police officers took the day off to help us. Chief of police was there cooking hot dogs, and we had a great time. The Northerns moved in. When the Northerns moved in, the panfish moved out. But they had 2, 3 Northerns they caught, and the kids had a good time. The other thing about this is the camaraderie that our cops showed these kids. They were kids themselves, and kids being with kids, cops as kids. They had regular conversation like, yeah, well, I was watching TV the other night and whatever, or I play ping pong, or yeah, we do this and we do that. And really, you guys do that too? And so it was really a good atmosphere for the kids to be with a cop that could talk their language. And I was really impressed with our cops. And thank you for the Menomonie Police Department for putting on cops and bobbers. So Yeah, it was really a great event. The other thing is a couple of quick ones. The candlelight ski happened. That was amazing. Swiss Miss was serving hot chocolate. They had froze up the furnace had gone out in the pavilion there where they normally host it, and they were going to cancel it. And the city got busy and said we'd host a porta potty, a couple of porta potties down there. And Jeff Peterson said, "Hey, I can bring wood, and we can make this thing happen." And they talked me into skiing, and I skied about 6 feet and fell over, and I got the giggles. You ever try to get up when you can't get up because you got the giggles? But eventually, I got up and we skied down the trail and skied back. And Swiss Miss was having hot chocolate there, and I got them singing a couple of barbershop tags. So it was just really a nice night out at the Red Cedar Trail with the DNR and the Friends of the Red Sea Trail putting it on with the help of the City of Menomonie. And I appreciate the City of Menomonie coming forward on that. So that was really fun. Just a quick announcement: February 14th will be a big open skating invite at the Wolski's Bay. So come on down February 14th. The Menomonie Transportation is going to offer to have bus transportation from Lakeside Park to the Bay during that time. So make sure you come and do that. Tomorrow, Cedar Brook Church is going to be down at Wolski's Bay with their kids doing a skate-a-thon. So just a lot happening within the city. All good stuff. The weather is going to be fantastic from here on out. And that being said, I'm going to pass the buck over to Eric. Eric?
I'm good, sir.
Okay, we'll go around the room, okay?
No, we have an election coming up and training all week here at City Hall for poll workers, so exciting times.
Very good, very good. Lee? Abigail? Eric? Matthew? Jeffrey? David?
I've got a couple of things very quickly. There in your packet is a copy of the housing affordability analysis. It's a report that the state requires us to do every year. It's posted on our website. So take a look at that. It's enticing reading. The Menomonie Police Department annual report is in there as well. I don't know if Chief wanted to say anything. And in addition, Jason Garcia is here tonight. He is the new Paul Sturck, the new wastewater operator, wastewater utility superintendent.
We need him to stand up.
He can certainly stand up. Paul is retiring after 22 years, and we believe Jason is a good replacement. So Paul is not a man of many words, but I think it would be appropriate to ask him to stand up and say something.
Well, he hasn't spoken at one of these for a long time. So, Paul, would you come up to the podium, please? It's time that we, what do they call it? Give you a hard time? Roast Paul tonight.
Kind of blindsided. I wasn't expecting this.
Yeah.
I'm not prepared, so.
Well, I got to give you credit, though. You know, all of us that use your services, I mean, you kept us flush.
That's good. Much everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you have to say for yourself?
I know it's been a good place to work. It's been a good long run, and I've enjoyed Menomonie and living here. My family's enjoyed it, and we're going to stay in the area. But no, the city's been great to work for. It's been a good employer, and
well,
got a good crew down there. That they're the ones that are getting their hands dirty. It's not so much me. So,
well,
they're the ones that keep the water flowing and everything running. So.
Well, and I know with the new sewer plant additions and all of those build outs, I mean, you had your hands full with lots of things
over the years.
Yeah, lots of projects.
Yeah.
And I want to congratulate you because, whenever somebody had an issue, I could always say, hey, why don't you give Paul a call or you guys always handled it. You guys make the rest of us look good. And, we really appreciate all your hard work, Paul, and all the diligence to the city. And I think a round of applause for Paul doing all his work would be ensued.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Appreciate it, Paul. Thanks a lot. And now we have to bring Josh up here, or Jason. I'm sorry, Jason. Yeah, we have another Jason, don't we? We have more than one Jason here. Jason, come on forward and introduce yourself to our city council and staff and tell us how excited you are.
Sure. My name's Jason Garcia, and first, congratulations to Paul in his retirement. And I don't know if most of you know this, he was gracious enough to postpone his retirement by a couple of weeks to help ensure a better transition, and for which I'm grateful for. So thank you. I'm originally from the Eau Claire area, born and raised in Eau Claire, went to high school in Eau Claire, and graduated from UW Eau Claire with a bachelor's of science in chemistry and biology. And I did an internship at Eau Claire's wastewater treatment plant and fell in love with the amalgamation there of the science and in the world of wastewater. So I went on to work for the city of Manitowoc as an operator for a couple of years, and then I took a position with the city of Fond du Lac as a lab analyst, and then was promoted to lead lab analyst, and then finally as coordinator of the lab program. And I'm glad to be able to bring all that back to where I'm originally from. So this is a great opportunity, and I know I'm in good hands with Paul. So thank you.
Well, Jason, welcome aboard, and yeah, wait till we roast you one day. Thank you, sir. Okay, going around the room, David, comes around the room, Randy, Rylan, Mary, Cody.
Real quick, I just want to thank council for taking action tonight on rental housing quality. That's an issue that's really important. Thanks to the city staff for helping develop the ordinance. And I know they all left, but thanks to the citizens who came to speak. I especially appreciated hearing from the landlords who were, had questions or skeptical. It'll give us a kind of a good lens to look through as we implement this and later review it and see how it can be improved. But yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody who was a part of that.
Thank you, Ben. Okay, that being said, we move down into claims. So if anyone wants to make a motion to pay the bills, we can do so at this time. So revise list, and Jeff Luther, go ahead, please. Mr. Luther. Go ahead. Yep.
Thanks, Louis. I'll make a motion to pay the claims, the revised claim list as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion? Mary.
I'll second that motion.
Great. Motion been made and seconded. Any additional discussion? Roll call vote. Oops, Matthew.
Yeah, just $92,000 on the accounting and auditing. Is that just like an annual audit for the taxes, or?
Yeah, it's part of the 2024 auditing package. And then the dollar amount seems high on there, but what ends up happening is we build that through the audit account that you'll see in the general fund, and then we parcel that out to the different departments that fit under that audit. Good question.
Good. Thank you for clarification. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Roll call vote, please.
Stillberg,
Yes.
Erdman,
Yes.
Summerfeld, Luther,
Yeah.
Crow,
Yes.
Zyland,
Yes.
Yanko,
Yes.
Packard, yes, Schweppes,
Yes.
Gintz.
Yes.
Thank you. Moves us down to licenses. Change of agent for J.M. Davis LLC doing business at the Market Social Club, 545 Broadway Street South, to Amber J. Gaddy. Eric, I think, we're all acquainted with those properties, but I think Amber was one of the individuals that had a lot of participation in that particular business and property with the previous owner. Maybe you could just touch on it real brief, just to bring us up to speed.
Sure. So the previous owner was Jason Davis. He recently passed away. And then Amber was someone who worked with him and has now been awarded in charge of that particular business. For her to be able to open the business, they have to have an agent. And so she has applied to assume the role as the agent for J.M. Davis LLC.
Thank you for clarification. Is there Mary, go ahead.
Is she the owner or?
Ben can explain some of that because he's been tied into this too.
There's a probate that's opened up for the previous owner. She is appointed as personal representative of the estate. Wisconsin statute allows personal representative to basically assume the role and continue the business moving forward as the probate is ongoing. So that's why she's, as Eric stated, business does need an agent to run. Previous agent is deceased, so she would be stepping in as that role.
Right. I think I don't see a problem with it. Kevin. Yes, sure.
If an agent is not appointed for that particular business, it cannot open. So that is one of the things that having that business open hinges on, is having an established agent.
And Amber is an up and coming gal. So yes, go ahead, Matthew.
I just gotta make a motion to approve the change of agent from J.M. Davis LLC doing business as the Market Social Club at 545 Broadway Street South to Amber J. Gaddy.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion, Abigail?
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any additional discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Now it would be 11B, the normal license list. Anybody like to make a motion past that? We can just go with this.
We don't have a.
There was a,
Yes, there is.
huh?
No. It was just that.
Oh, my mistake. Sorry. Yeah, that,
They did not
that
get a normal license list.
I was looking at the, yep, I was looking at the claim. Thank you.
What is the license for a temporary class B beer?
Hi, Mr. Luther. Thank you for pointing it out.
Is that what we just discussed? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, see, I threw me for a loop or two. Thanks, Kate. All right. That being said, we have an opportunity, Chef Luther.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Oh my goodness. A motion to adjourn. Is there a second to that motion? Cody?
I'll second.
All right. Paul, second in line. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everybody. Have a great